Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Living the Sweet Life. I'm your host, TJ Sweet, and on this podcast, we are committed to helping you go from where you are to where you want to be. And today, we're going to talk about something that's really, really powerful, that fits kind of perfectly into all of the areas and all of the ways that we help you do that. And as you know, we help you get where you want to be by helping you live with intention, helping you reshape your mindset and look at the world through a grateful lens. So first of all, thank you. Like I do every episode, my gratitude for you for listening to these episodes and for watching these episodes. It means a lot to me. It inspires me every week. So thank you so much for that. And go ahead and take this time to hit that subscribe button. Every time I get another person subscribing, it inspires me and motivates me. So thank you for that as well. So this week, we're going to get a little uncomfortable, but growth only comes from the other side of being uncomfortable. And this is something that no matter how big the decision may be, making a bold decision requires you breaking through some fear. Now, you'll hear a whole bunch of fear is not an acronym, but you'll hear people talk about fear as an acronym of maybe false expectations appearing real, right? Somebody said that once, and it was such a powerful way to think about the word fear because, fear is a natural emotion. It actually probably serves us pretty well in a lot of areas, but we've kind of let fear take over in places that it doesn't need to be. And we've also kind of assigned fear so much power over who we are, what we think, and what we do. And the opposite of fear, typically when we're talking about making decisions, we think about certainty. We think about comfort. But not all of us are in this journey to be safe and just to be comfortable. But what if I told you that you can be safe, certain, and comfortable while you make bold decisions? That's what we're going to do this week. I'm going to kind of break down fear, talk about how it can be something that slows you down, but it can also be the one thing that motivates you like crazy. Because it matters. What you're doing matters. Other people around you are depending on you breaking through your own fear. But also this cool thing about breaking through fears is it inspires other people to do the same thing. So we're not just going to say that you shouldn't have fear. I kind of want you to have it, but I want you to think about it differently. And that's what we're committed to this week. So first of all, the one thing I'm going to say is fear is a clear sign of growth. The presence of fear, like that sense that you have of being afraid of something, actually is the best sign and signal that you're on the verge of a breakthrough. If you were comfortable and you didn't have any fears, I would say that you're probably not maybe going as hard as you could or challenging yourself enough or growing enough. But whenever you start to have that sense of nerves and fear, you're on the verge. You're about to do something incredible. But you're also learning, and you can use that to propel you forward. Because once you start to think about fear differently, you start to treat it differently, which then means you start to behave differently when you have that feeling. But inside the body, fear can kind of sound or kind of feel like excited, right? So this idea of anxious as well. But the only difference between being scared and being excited is how you're thinking about something. So for me, I know when I get up on stage or whenever I sit in front of this camera and there's people here with me, that little sense of nerves excites me. Now, some of you, whenever you're about to go on stage or maybe you're about to even speak in a very simple setting, people say, I'm terrified. I'm petrified. I'm scared. But what if all you had to do was stop and think about, you know what, maybe that's just me about to go do something great. What if I start to use that tension that I have to believe in myself? Because again, when you're doing something outside of your comfort zone, because as we know, that's really the only place that growth happens is outside of your comfort zone. When you start to do some of those things, when you start to feel fear, it's probably like a little checkpoint of like, yep, I'm doing the right stuff. But we have to be intentional about the actions that we take next. And so for me, whenever I get ready to go up on stage, my heart actually slows down a little bit, my heartbeat. My brain starts to be more clear. I start to, have this kind of deeper sense of who I am, where I am, and what message I want to share with the world. But that took some time. I had to kind of redefine what is this feeling that I have and how can I use it instead of letting it use me. Now, whenever it comes to, like we've talked about, making some of these decisions, there are going to be decisions that I know even people here with me right now that have made some decisions of, you know what, it may be scary, but it's worth it. But when they say it may be scary and it's worth it, they're also committing to breaking through the fear. And again, like we've talked about in other episodes, whenever you fear something, get curious about it. Don't kind of put it away or move in a different direction necessarily, but get curious about why you're scared about it. Try to find some truth. Doubt your doubts, even if it's about yourself, but really start to kind of peel back the layers of why do you fear what you fear? And then what can you do about it? And sometimes there are people who, when they want to start their own business, it's scary to start your own business. But if you have that tension inside of you already, let the fear that you have be the one catalyst and the driver to make you learn more, grow more, be more bold in the decisions that you're making. But the only way that you can really make some of these bold decisions that can actually help you with intention is it comes from this deep sense of clarity. Fear can kind of distract you a little bit. It can make you think about what could go wrong. But sometimes these bold decisions also come from the other side of, but what could go right? And gaining clarity before you make a bold decision and your goals and your values kind of really allows you to make decisions from a place of confidence rather than fear. So finding that clarity when you're about to make a decision. So whenever you are getting ready to, put some systems and processes in place when you're getting ready to make a bold decision, once you've kind of gained some clarity, it feels less threatening. It's more specific and you have a plan. If you just say, I want to quit my job and start my own business, that rarely will work. But if you say, I want to stop doing what I want to quit my job and start this business in this area and offer these services and serve my clients this way, that clarity reduces the fear, reduces the uncertainty and the anxiety because you have a clear path. You have clarity on your intention, on the impact you want to make, and then how you can actually make a living off of your purpose. But if you're just vague in your decision making, you're rarely going to overcome that fear. So clarity helps you get through the fear because you have a plan. Now, this sounds easy, right? Now, this is also momentary because whenever you make your bold decision, the fear is not over. The fear is just beginning, but how you think about the fear may be changing. So fear kind of goes away. It diminishes with the more action you take. Overcoming fear isn't, again, first of all, not thinking you shouldn't have it, but it's like, what do I do with this sense of fear? And it's become more confident. You have to start taking some of these small, consistent actions towards the things that you want, towards your goals. But once you start to commit to that and you start to keep more promises to yourself and stay disciplined, fear kind of goes away in the sense of the power of the fear goes away. Maybe not the fear itself, maybe not the thoughts. But when you start to build confidence and momentum with the small actions that you're taking, you'll start to then focus on what you can do instead of the fear of what could go wrong. And learning from other people, learning lessons from other people can also be a great way to overcome your fear. But being committed every day to looking at your fear right in the eye, right in the face, writing it down. Like, what are you scared of? Is it real or is it something you've created? Is it actually something you could do something about? Or is it not anything that you can do anything about, but you can do other things to prevent that, right? And so even if it's financial security, of I'm scared that I'm not going to make enough money with my new business, so I'm not going to do it. Or, I'm scared of moving to a bigger city because I don't know anybody. Whatever the things are, there's always a plan that you can sit down and make. And once you start to actually, again, the clarity, once you actually start to sit down and think about what is something I can do every day to overcome that fear, not act like it's not there, and not even try to overcome it, but just kind of overcome the power it has on you. And maybe that fear that you have could be the one thing, the catalyst to make you work harder, for the people on your team, for the people in your life. Or maybe you could start to focus on what could go right more than what could go wrong. Because, I've done this as well. There's some breakthroughs as well that I need to make in my own life. And, nobody's immune to this. And every single person who's made the decision to do something boldly had to acknowledge the fear that they were feeling and then get to work and then use that fear instead of letting the fear use them. Because it's very natural and human to stay in the place where we are, to not challenge, just kind of find certainty and find comfort. But for a lot of you, because I can tell you, if you're listening to this, you're also somebody who's always trying to grow and learn. There's so much opportunity to acknowledge what we're actually scared of. And maybe it's fear of judgment. Maybe it's fear of failure. Maybe it's just fear of how other people are going to see us. But whatever it is, even if it's something that has happened in the past, right? So again, this definition of anxiety that we've talked about, of fear that the past may happen again, start to really confront that fear and recognize, is it still a possibility now? Or is it something that you're just carrying with you? Because oftentimes the things we haven't healed from are the things that we still fear. And, I've had this in my own life. I've had this with this business. I've had it with the podcast. To be transparent, the second book that I wrote, called Grateful Leadership, I was afraid that nobody would read it. I was afraid that people would think that it was, that I was a fake. There's self-limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome and all these things, right, that come along with pursuing anything really in life. But I was afraid that nobody would read it, so I didn't write it. I was afraid that people wouldn't find it valuable. If I did put it out there, then they wouldn't think I was a good leader. I was afraid of a whole bunch of different things. And then a friend of mine said, "You've been talking about this book for a long time. When are you ever going to write it?" And then I had to stop and think about, what am I so scared of? And I just told you what I was scared of. But the way I used that fear, I transformed it into purpose. And I did that because I stopped thinking about myself when I was writing the book. And I started to think about the people that may actually read the book and how that may benefit them. Because I had to get out of my own way. And oftentimes that's what happens with fear. And same thing with these podcast episodes. There's not a sense of fear anymore. It's a sense of you. It's a sense of giving back to you, making a difference in the world, sharing one message with one of you that maybe is that moment that brings your shoulders back and your chin up and makes you go for it. Because that's what we need more of in our lives, are more people who are going to say, I know it's scary, but I'm going to be here no matter what. That is embracing fear. So maybe there's somebody in your life that's wanting to take a bold new direction in their life. What if you reached out to them and said, you know what? I want to be that certainty. I want to be that thing for you that no matter what, no matter how this goes, I'm going to be there with you. And Kobe Bryant's dad gave this very specific example as well, because Kobe talked about, he said the one thing that changed Kobe's life is when his dad said, take the shot, go for it, be your best, because even if you fail, I'm going to love you no matter what. So how do we help people see their fear, but not let it be the thing that makes them feel like they have to earn something, or that's going to change the value that they provide in their lives, in your life? So let's reach out to each other and say, you know what? Fear is real, but we're going to be with each other throughout this process of overcoming that so that we can make bold decisions that make our lives better and the people's lives that we're the most grateful for better. So I hope this episode made you a little uncomfortable. I hope it made you kind of really stop and kind of own some of your own fears, but then also start to recognize how powerful you are and how you're one decision away from overcoming any fear that may or may not be real. Share this episode with somebody, because I guarantee you this is something that will probably matter to more people than you think. And talk about your fears. You don't have to hide from them. Fears aren't a sign of weakness. They're a sign of strength and a sign of courage, because you're willing to look at them and move past them to make more and bold decisions. decisions. So I appreciate you all listening to this episode. If you haven't hit subscribe, go ahead and do that so you get these episode notifications every week. And I will remind you that you always have the power and the choice to live with intention, reshape your mindset, and look at the world through a grateful lens. Till the next episode, never stop.